Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Trust you and yours are well and you are loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to this channel to keep growing. Many thanks to Dr. Roland for the super thanks. Many thanks to Whipping in the Well. Many thanks to Mega Root Boy 007 for the super thanks gifted to the channel. And to all of you, my channel members, thank you so much. So today I'm taking you back to Botswana. Some of you drew my mind to something, and that's the US military base in Botswana. It's a lot of persons are not even aware of this because it's not even circulating as it should. Okay. The reason why this is of interest is that because I did some research about it, and I'm going to leave some clip as video progresses. One thing with the US is that they always fix themselves in strategic points. Sometimes you think that the place they are places of there are places that do not have interest, but they are there because they have already surveyed the environment, they've surveyed the neighboring countries, they know that they can be safe there, and if there is anything, they can take down two, three, four countries surrounding the environment where they are. Like they always plan themselves so well and make you feel nothing is wrong, all is well. While underneath, they are doing what they can do best. All right. One of you left a comment that I'm going to leave it on the screen. Abigail, I'm worried about the military base that is built in Botswana. I don't understand why Botswana allowed America to build this military base. It's a strategy to monitor the southern region. We are actually being guarded. If we can revolt, they can finish the southern region. Yes, like I said, that is a strategic point where they know they can stay, and when something happens, they know they can take down two, three, four regions surrounding where they are. Now, during the time of Niger uranium issue, when it was on the height, we were made to understand that there are about 4 5 military bases only in Niger. Why? Because Niger is a strategic point for them. Now, I'm going to be leaving some pictures, some more information there on the screen so you see. US base in Gabon hiding in plain sight. Now, they deliberately don't draw your attention to the fact that they are in a place. It's for a reason. It's for a reason. They don't circulate it. It's for a reason. And this information is just last month, towards the middle of last month. With what is happening, I want to believe that the US United States government and the Botswana government have made an agreement. They've signed something. I think I keep saying this, that when our leaders are signing some things on paper, I don't know if they read those things they sign, or they just go ahead to sign because of some benefits that the US government have rubbed on their faces that they can't just refuse. You get the point. And most of the times they make these deals, they sign these papers, they don't think of the repercussion, they don't think of what happens next. So they are trying so hard to cover the fact that they've made a deal with the US government. This is what I'm saying. Because they keep denying the fact that there is a military base in Botswana. The citizens are crying out. And people, for Malema to say something about this is something that there's a lot behind. I don't know why the US have military bases, over 29 military bases in Africa. The US alone. I'm not talking about Britain. I'm not talking about France yet. I'm not talking about Germany yet. I'm not talking about all the world powers yet. I'm just talking about USA alone, 29. And we think it's okay, all is good, everywhere's fine. Is there any country in the continent that have bases outside in their countries? Is there any African base in US? African military base? Is there African military base in the collective West? But we sit down here, we allow them to move around, and this is why there will be no peace. in the continent. This is just the painful truth. If you're searching for peace, if all these are shouting, all these are unite and everything, it will not be possible, because these bases that are in these countries in the continent are their eyes. It is these same military bases that they use to instigate war, to instigate problem. Look at what is happening in the Congo. I think that should be the next video coming up. We have a lot of video, and there are lots of videos, so I would want you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified. Like, I have lots of informations to share with you, and do always share these videos whenever you see them, because it helps create more awareness. And a united Africa is possible, but we need to work. We need to work. We need to put our foot down. Like, we need to do the work. All right. And these are part of it. We have to agitate for the removal of these bases. There have been bases in the continent, and there have been crises. If you claim you are coming to the continent to solve problems for people in the continent, because we are so stupid, we are so backward and uncivilized that we don't know how to solve problems within ourselves, you are coming in to help us because you are the savior, because this is how they want us to look at them. Now, as a savior, you are in a region, problem does not end, and you're still there. And you're still there. And you don't want people to talk about it. You don't want people to say anything. So, Your Majesties, I think these are things we have to look into. I'm going to leave you with a clip so that you get more information, and you leave your comment there at the section. What you think? What are your opinion? What do you think is the way forward? What should we do? How should we petition? How should we kick out foreign bodies from the continent of Africa? Because the more there are foreign bodies in the continent, there will be no peace for the motherland. All right, I'm going to leave you with this one, and you leave your comment there. Love you all.
The United States wants to maintain and even expand its military presence in Africa, but it's not being completely open about its plans, or at least that's the allegation. The revelations were made by intelligence company Pangea Risk. So let's find out what is the concern and what it means, of course, for the continent. Robert Besseling from Pangea Risk joining us. Pangea, hello, Robert, hello from Pangea speaking to us. Robert, so here's the problem. We have the U.S. military coming in. It's often shrouded in information along boosting the economy, environmental protection, specialized skills training. But you're going to tell us that's not exactly what's going on here. Hello to you, Robert.
Good morning, Gareth. Hi. The U.S. military has about 27 operational bases across the whole African continent. Most of those are in your typical conflict zones, in the Horn of Africa, in the Sahel region and West Africa, where the main focus is counterterrorism. The Trump administration had been talking about drawing down those military forces, but the Biden administration seems to be, as far as we can fathom from the initial Africa policy plans, willing to maintain 6,000 U.S. military personnel overtly on the African continent. Our concern now is that a number of African governments are allowing covert operations not fully under the framework of their legal or constitutional regulations. For example, in West Africa, the small archipelago of Cape Verde, not many people will have heard of it before, but it's a very strategic position just off the coast of West Africa, and it's a hub for narco trafficking, for drugs trafficking. And the US military seems very keen to crack down on this, but currently does not have the full framework in place to be able to do so constitutionally or legally in that particular country, in Cape Verde.
So the issue, Robert Besseling, you're telling me, is that the U.S. wants to be involved on the African continent, but not necessarily to serve the African continent. I'm getting a sense here this is self-serving interests in a way to protect American interests on the African continent. That's what I'm hearing here.
We hear a lot of rhetoric about the soft power of the US in Africa. Vaccine donations, trade and investment being reinvigorated, etc. But at the same time, the US military is already present in Africa. It has been for many years. And that is now being ramped up further and is being extended in a number of African countries where we have not actually seen the right laws in place to allow US military personnel to operate. The real interest here are indeed US interests to try and crack down on drug trafficking, which fund terrorism operations in West Africa and the Sahel, for example.
Tell me, Robert, just before I say goodbye to you, I've got about a minute left with you on this, Robert. What do we do about this? I'm not too sure. Like, it's a lot of information, and factually, it seems to be making sense. What does Africa do? What do we do about this? Do we go along with this? Are we against this? How does this benefit Africa, I think, is what I'm trying to leave you with as my final question.
Gareth, I think what we need to do here is try and come down to the legal position of US forces in Africa. Which countries are doing it legally and which ones aren't? And then we have supranational courts like ECOWAS in West Africa or SADC here in Southern Africa, who are all able to oversee these status of forces agreements. In Cape Verde, the example I mentioned earlier, it is really important to try and see how Cape Verde is benefiting from the US forces on the ground and what trade-offs are being made, not always publicized correctly, between these African governments and the US military. There's a lot more going on here than is actually being publicized or reported.
And in the last few seconds with you, SADC and the US military, where do we stand?
There is very little US military presence in the southern region. There is a unit in Botswana, and at the moment it seems that more US forces are being taken out of the southern region and being refocused on these key hot zones in the east and the west of Africa, particularly around Cape Verde, Niger, and the Sahel region.
Mr. Robert Besseling from Pangaea Risk, what a pleasure speaking to you. I'm sure you and I are going to speak many times over the coming months as far as this US involvement in Africa is concerned.
This thing of territorial threats, we know them here. We've got an army base here in Botswana. What is America doing here in Botswana? Why is Africa not in American borders? What do you call that? And you come and say imperialism and colonialism is finished. When people expand their territorial expansion through putting military bases at our borders. There's a military base here. A study has been conducted that a fighter jet that moves from that army base to the Union building will not take less than 2 minutes to bomb the Union building. If a war is declared with America, America does not have to assemble any resource from Washington or anywhere else to come here. They are already here. What do you call that? It's democracy. It's free world. We must celebrate that and say, no, imperialism is no longer there. It's in our head. We understand what Putin is fighting against because we have it here. Here. What is it doing here? We never went to Asia. We never went to Europe. We never went to America. We are here. We don't establish bases anywhere. Why should you establish bases, military bases in our continent?